What's going on, everyone? LA Sports back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the current situation for the New York Giants at the head coach, defensive coordinator, and offensive coordinator positions. Of course, Joe Schoen, who was just recently hired as the general manager, the next New York Giants general manager. He was the assistant GM for the Bills, so of course there's ties there, lots of ties. Of course, to Brian Daboll, who's, the finalist for the job. I think, realistically, in my opinion, I think it's down to two people, and they're my two favorites. As for Joe Schoen, though, in about a little over a half hour, he'll be doing his first press conference as a member of the New York Giants, so that'll be exciting. If there's anything interesting, I'll make a video and talk about what I thought about what he said, if there's anything in specific worth making a video on. But Brian Daboll and Brian Flores. These are my two favorites. It's like the 1A, 1B. If I had to choose one, I would pick Brian Flores because he's more of a guy who's done it before, and we know what to kind of expect from Brian Flores. But Brian Daboll, of course, he's been a big part in the acceleration of Josh Allen's the talent and the player that he is. He's been a big part in that. So how could you not want a guy like that, especially when the Giants have been as bad offensively that we've been for years? So I think it's definitely both guys are guys that, if you hire one, you're going to have to, on the other side of the ball, you're going to have to hire a very, very good coordinator. So, for example, if we bring in Brian Flores to be the head coach, I believe, they have to go with a bigger offensive coordinator and a guy who, is, very, very strong on that side of the football. Whereas Brian Daboll, he would probably call plays if he were the head coach here, and we would have to bring in a stronger defensive coordinator. So, realistically, the main thing I want to talk about though in the video is Daboll Martindale. And if you watch my channel, you know how much I like him. I'm really, really high on him. Of course, he and the Baltimore Ravens, a few days ago, they parted ways after, he was just so successful there with that defense. He's been with them for a while. He's been the defensive coordinator there for, I believe, 5 years. He's been terrific. I really want him as the defensive coordinator of the Giants. I understand, though, if we bring in Brian Flores, that probably won't be the case because Daboll Martindale's looking for more of a hands-on approach, and with Brian Flores, he might not get that. If the New York Giants hire Brian Flores to be the head coach, I believe Patrick Graham will stay on as the defensive coordinator because of the ties he has. Brian Flores and Patrick Graham, they have ties, of course. They work together, with New England, Miami. They've been a couple of guys who get along very well, and I think Brian Flores is brought along. I think Patrick Graham hangs on here to be the defensive coordinator with the Giants. And something that, I think is interesting, although Brian Flores' interview isn't until tomorrow, his first interview, the Giants are really looking into things with Brian Flores. A lot of news and rumors came out that he doesn't get along with his staff, and that, led to a lot of firings when he was with Miami. And, some of that maybe is true, but the Giants did what they needed to do. They contacted a lot of people and a lot of former staff members from the Miami Dolphins and just guys he's worked with over his coaching career. And based off the reports, there's been nothing but good things to say about Brian Flores. So that obviously, will drag the Giants' interest level a little higher. But in the end, I think Flores will probably get a second interview. Daboll already got two before Flores even had his one, but that's because the ties, like I said. But in the end, I think the two finalists for this job are going to be Brian Daboll and going to be Brian Flores. And like I said, if Brian Flores is the head coach, I would expect Patrick Graham to stay on as the defensive coordinator. But that means that the Giants would have to get an ultra good offensive coordinator because Brian Flores is a defensive-minded coach, and he doesn't have too much upside in terms of calling plays or doing anything really offensively. So the Giants would need a much better candidate. But the main purpose of the video, like I said, was to talk about Daboll Martindale. And if Brian Flores comes in, there's no way I can see Dominic Martindale come in and be the defensive coordinator, because he wouldn't have as much of a hands-on approach. So if Brian Daboll, on the other hand, is the head coach, he would be the head coach. He would probably call plays. You would bring in an offensive coordinator that isn't as hands-on and doesn't have as much control of the offense and what goes on. So I think it would just be a pretty basic guy. Maybe bring someone from Buffalo. A lot of people are saying Ken Dorsey, but realistically, I don't, maybe as the offensive coordinator if Brian Flores is hired, but realistically, if Daboll leaves Buffalo, I think the Bills would, really, really want to have Ken Dorsey, as he has a lot of ties to Josh Allen. Josh Allen probably wants him to be that guy. So that's just what I think there. But if Daboll is the head coach, I would really think it's a real possibility, and I would actually think it's a strong possibility that Dominic Martindale comes in to be the defensive coordinator, because he would have such a control of the defense. Because Brian Daboll, let's just face it, he doesn't have much experience on the defensive side of the ball, and I don't know how good he would be with a average defensive coordinator. And Dominic Martindale is one of the better ones in the game, so I think they would have to bring in someone like him. And I just think realistically, if they bring in Daboll, I think he calls plays. This is just my predictions for the two finalists of the job and what I think, the connections are to them. Daboll comes in to be the head coach. He calls plays. The offensive coordinator is a kind of more of a hands-off guy, maybe works upstairs in a booth, more of that situation, and then a guy like Dominic Martindale to be the defensive coordinator. That's the Daboll situation. If Flores is brought in, I think you get Patrick Graham stays on, Flores and Graham combination of calling defensive plays, I think, and then Flores would hire a very good offensive coordinator, a guy who has a lot of experience, maybe Ken Dorsey, because of course Shane coming from Buffalo maybe brings in a Buffalo guy if it's okay with Flores. But in the end, I think these are the two final and most likely possibilities and situations that would end up being the New York Giants coaching staff. I know Dan Quinn's name's been thrown out there. He got an in-person interview, and they brought in Witt for an interview to be the defensive coordinator. I found that interesting, because maybe they found something they liked in Dan Quinn. Reports are saying that they really saw something from Dan Quinn, but in the end, I just think Brian Daboll and Brian Flores are the most likely guys to be the head coach for the New York Giants, but it sounds like it's going to take a little longer to find out who that guy is than most New York Giants fans want. It sounds like it's going to drag on probably into the beginning of next week. But who knows? Maybe maybe on Friday they say, all right, we've got enough information, and they bring in whoever they feel is the guy. But I think we won't have an answer till at least Friday night. But I think it'll probably drag into the weekend, and more than likely, if it drags into the weekend, into next week. But guys, that's all I got in this video. Please let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts on these, possibilities. Dominic Martindale, you think he could be the guy as the defensive coordinator? Brian Daboll is hired. I would really like that combination of the two, but at the same time, if I had to pick a coach over the other, I would love Brian Flores as the next New York Giants head coach. But these are the dream scenarios for the head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator positions for the New York Giants. You guys let me know down below in the comment section, who do you want as the head coach, OC, DC, and who do you think will end up being the guys? Let me know all that good stuff in the comment section down below. And as always, please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. I'll have a video out on the Joe Shane press conference if there's anything interesting worth talking about. That's all I got in this video, guys. We'll see you guys on the next video. Let's go Giants.